Rock and roll.
And usually. Very technical. Okay, thank you very much. Welcome to our Friday Center for Transportation Studies Transportation Seminar. My name is Jennifer Dill. I'm a faculty member here in the School of Urban Studies and Planning, and along with my colleagues, John Glebe, Rob Bertini, and Chris Monsieur, we help co-organize this weekly seminar. And today I'm happy to have Dan Bauer, who is a planner with the Portland Department of Transportation and also an alum of the MERP program here at PSU. He's going to be talking about the SmartTrips program and some results from their most recent project, and I think talking a little bit about what may be coming next for SmartTrips. So,
sure. Great. Okay, so questions and answers usually happens at the end, during, at the beginning. That would be weird. Okay.
Oh, and I should remind everyone, because we do webcasts, that if you do ask a question at the end, to use the microphone in front of you, keep the red light lit so that people can hear your question.
Okay. I don't mind questions midway through, but if those are the rules, that's the rules.
Well, you set the rules.
Okay, great. You can ask questions whenever you want. This is fine. Okay, my name is Dan. I work for City of Portland Transportation, and I work for the Options Division there, which is in the Bureau of Transportation Systems Management. So we have parking enforcement, signals and lighting, safety group, and various other ways of moving cars and keeping people safe. Our group, Options, is primarily focused on transportation demand management and helping people get out of their cars and use bikes and walking and transit. We're basically split up into two groups. We have an outreach team and a policy team. I'm on the policy team, but I dabble with the outreach team. It's all pretty intertwined. Our outreach team does over 120 events every year, including guided walks and rides, and they table at street fairs. They make all the bike maps that we have and all the walking maps. Work closely with TriMet to promote everything they have. And we do things like the See and Be Seen bike light campaign. Anything you see in terms of promoting alternative transportation generally comes out of our shop. My side, the Transportation Policy Group, we work with car share and carpool to come up with city policies to help promote them, find them on-street parking, or come up with incentive programs for car share or carpool, van pool, or any other kind of transportation options policy thing happens there. So what I'm going to talk about today is our biggest, by far our biggest and highest profile program, which is called Portland SmartTrips. This is an individualized marketing program aimed at getting people out of their cars and promoting biking, walking, transit, and car share. Let's see, how do I move this thing? I just hit buttons. There we go. This is the PDOT mission. It says residents will have a broad range of safe and convenient transportation options and will frequently walk, cycle, carpool, and ride public transportation as their first choice of transportation. And the mission of PDOT and options is to advance transportation options to promote livability and a safe, balanced transportation system. So this is good stuff for our group. It's all right here. Let's see. The goal of the SmartTrips program, and we'll get into the details of that later, but essentially the goals of the program are to, just like the mission says, reduce drive-alone trips, increase walking and biking, increase health and safety, because these are major barriers to people using alternative transportation, is the perception of a dangerous system, or sometimes even health is a barrier to getting people to use a bike or walking. And also, a fourth goal of our program is to promote local businesses. And we've had great experiences promoting local businesses and encouraging people to walk and bike to the businesses in their neighborhoods. Now, I have my own theory on transportation, and that is basically that people will do whatever's easiest for them. And if you make it too easy for people to do the wrong thing, they will every time. And our job, basically, with the SmartTrips program in particular, is to make it really easy for people to make the right choice. And I show this partly because it's funny, but mostly because I think it's true. And that if people perceive the stairs to be riding a bike and the escalator to be driving, they're going to take the escalator every time. And part of that is based on perception, and part of it's based on reality. And our program, we work to break down the barriers, give people the real information. And one of the things we've noticed is perception is a huge thing, and people perceive the transit system to be worse than it actually is. And when you tell them, and you show them a schedule, and you show them the stop, and they use it, they realize it's just as fast as the car, or maybe it's more convenient or more comfortable than they actually thought it was. And overcoming those perceptions is a big, big part of our program. So we didn't just come up with this overnight. Basically, we've been doing outreach in some form or fashion for 5 or 6 years now. And we've always targeted it in a geographic area. So I don't know if I can point. Can I point at things? Is that okay? In 2002, we did a program right here in Northwest Portland with the opening of the streetcar. We targeted all the residents and offered them a free streetcar pass, a free TriMet pass, or a free year membership in car share, which moved into FlexCar. That was about 6,000 households, and that went really well. And the key to that was we were following a capital investment. And we said, okay, there's a streetcar. Now we need to tell people how to use it. The next year, we moved out to Lentz here in 2002, which is the darker gray one here. And we did, I don't know, kind of a lightweight program. We were in transition at that time. But that same year, we got a grant from ODOT to do the first TravelSmart project in America. And TravelSmart is another individualized marketing program that a firm called Social Data runs, and they're from Perth, Australia. And this project has been done hundreds of times across the world, and generally shows a pretty good track record of reducing drive-alone trips by about 8% every time. And it's a pretty transit-focused program, and it's essentially what we modeled our program after. The pilot program we did in Southwest Portland here was to 600 households, and it reduced driving trips by 8%. So in 2002, we had a hybrid of Lentz and Southwest. I'm sorry, in 2003. In 2004, up here in Interstate, that's when light rail opened on Interstate light rail line. We got a $500,000 grant from Metro and ODOT to do the first large-scale TravelSmart project in America. And this targeted every household within a half mile of light rail stop. And once again, 8% reduction in drive-alone trips. It was great. So the next year, when that was over, we looked back and we said, okay, we really like this program, but they're kind of expensive, and there's a few other things that we want to do over here that are more kind of Portlandy. The TravelSmart, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I mean, if you say 8% less trips but by car, but of course, if you open the light rail parallelly to that, I mean,
right.
That's nothing, isn't it?
No, that's what that program showed, and they have extensive survey work, which we can go over later. They essentially doubled light rail ridership over what it would have been. There's the ridership boost you get from putting light rail in, and then there's another ridership boost you get from telling people it's there and how to use it. And that's That's the TravelSmart element. You're already going to get some shift, but it's not usually 8%. You actually, a lot of the ridership in the yellow line when it first opened was people who used to be on the bus that was there. That's shifted over to the light rail line. So, but that's a good question because you do get quite a bit of shift. But this program has shown consistently that if you do it alongside a major capital investment like light rail, you basically double the ridership. So after that year, we really wanted to model, following capital investments. But unfortunately, that year there wasn't a whole lot going on in terms of major light rail lines or streetcar lines opening up. So we decided to try it ourselves and see what happened. So in 2005, we did a project here in southeast Portland, partly northeast. It was called the East Side Project. It was 20,000 households. Last year, we did this project here, which was 25,000 households in northeast Portland. And this year, we just kicked off this one here, which includes the city of Milwaukee. Next year, we're doing all of Southwest, most of Southwest. In 2010, we're going to be out along the light rail line here when it opens. And 2009, we're going to wait and see. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to talk about TravelSmart, which is what our project is modeled after, and then I'm going to highlight the differences between our project and their project. Because TravelSmart really is they're the innovator here. And this is ran by a company out of Perth, Australia. As I mentioned, they're called Social Data. Cities around the world hire them to come in and do these individualized marketing projects. The key to TravelSmart is that it's not an awareness campaign. It's not a billboard campaign where you're basically just trying to raise people's awareness level. We're actually targeting behavior change. So it's based on starting a dialogue with people, interaction. You offer opportunities to people who are interested. And what TravelSmart does is they break people up based on a baseline survey. They segment you into it. You're either an R, an I, or an N. An R is a regular user of the system. An I is somebody who's interested but not using the system. And the N are people who just, no matter what you do, are never going to use the system. And the system, I mean biking, walking, alternative transportation in general. Our experience shows that usually between 20 and 30, maybe 35% of the population is in the N population, which is, don't mess with me, no touchy. Right? And the TravelSmart concept basically says leave those people alone. Don't waste your time trying to get them because no matter what you do, you're never going to get them. And the R's, who are regular users already, you want to reward them with something. Say, hey, great job. Here's a free incentive. Keep doing what you're doing. And the I's, you want to offer them customized information and let them choose it so they can choose whatever they want. They basically get a service sheet and you can order all these materials, and we'll go over all that later. That's the TravelSmart project. They go in, they do a pre-survey, they segment you, they let you choose your information, they deliver it to you, and that's it. They're done. Then they do a post-survey. Our project, SmartTrips, and TravelSmart is a patented name, by the way, so hence SmartTrips. Ours, like TravelSmart, is a home-based program. But unlike them, we reach every resident in the area. So this year we have 20,000 residents. We reach them all at least 5 times with different messages, which is mostly mailing. And we reach interested residents, and I'll show you what those are later, at least 10 times, many times more. And this involves newsletters, mailings, tabling at events, guided walks and rides, etc. So really the key to any marketing campaign is repeated exposure. And what we're seeing with our program is we go a little bit deeper than TravelSmart does. We reach less people. We go deeper with them to get the same results. And another way we stray from TravelSmart is we have a direct hands-on approach. We have guided classes, we get guided walks, we have guided rides, guided walks, classes, and several different events to help promote these things. And we have great attendance on these, and people love them. And what this is you give them the information and then you show them how to use it. And we have great participation. So quickly, it's a table kind of highlighting the differences between TravelSmart and our program. The major differences are the number of contacts that we make, and that they segment people early on. We don't do any segmentation. We'll talk to anybody. We do classes and rides. We have follow-up newsletters. We have a party at the end. Their participation rate is slightly higher, but ours is a little bit deeper. So we get basically the same results, but for them, they can do it with a smaller number of people. And when we talk about our 8 to 12% reduction in car trips, this is for the entire area. It's not just participants. So of the 24,000 households we're working with in Northeast, we'll work with 6,000 or 7,000 of them. in the entire area shows this reduction in drive alone trips. And we all do a follow-up survey at the end. So how do we choose an area? Oh, yeah.
I just don't know what is the difference between TravelSmart and SmartTrips.
TravelSmart this is the name of a program that Social Data is a company, and they have it patented, and basically cities hire them to run this program. SmartTrips is the City of Portland's program. We made this one up. It's just a name. Does that make sense to everybody? We're okay? All right. We would call it, yeah. So how do we choose an area for this program? Each year we try and target around 20,000 households. This is mostly a budget thing and a space issue. We have to store all the materials. But more importantly, there needs to be a there. We need to have a way of showing people how to use alternative transportation, and they need to have a good experience doing it. And so there has to be transportation infrastructure there. There has to be something for them to walk or bike to. And there needs to be a little bit of density. And we try and follow capital projects, but it doesn't always work. But to the most we can, we do that. But the key really is people have to have a good experience doing this. And if you try and do this in an area where people either are anti-transit or there is no transit, you're not going to get good results. And you need to have bureaucratic support, you need to have political support, but you also need community support. And if you're trying to do this somewhere where the only people who ride the bus are people who can't afford cars or have a DUI and can't drive, you're not going to get any behavior change. It's just not going to happen. The community here in Portland understands that we have a good transportation system. They have things to walk or bike to, and they actually enjoy riding transit. And if you look at TriMet's numbers, their number of choice riders is really, really high. And choice rider is people who have a car, people who have cars and choose to ride transit as opposed to the alternative. So these are the two projects that we did. These are the two SmartTrips programs that we've done so far. And this slide seems like it's probably out of order, so I'm going to come to it. Whoop, time out. What happened? Pay no attention. You go here. You go here. Okay. So we chose an area. The first thing we do with this area is we send out this newsletter, and this basically alerts everybody in the area that we're coming. The newsletter says, this is our program, this is what we're going to do, we're coming, heads up. Next thing we do is mail all these households an order form. And I don't know if you can read this or not, but the order form basically allows every household in the area to order customized information for transportation. So this is all walking information. There's a kit. There's walking maps. This is all biking information. You can order our Women on Bikes brochures, our schedule of guided rides. All of our maps are here. All the TriMet material is up here on the top right. We have even more transportation options, which is flex car, carpool information. We have driver safety for elderly drivers. And then last year we kicked off this new program with the Water Bureau. It's called SmartTrips. And they have indoor and outdoor water kits that you can order, and they're great. They're really popular. And then the other thing we do is we offer everybody an incentive. So you can order your umbrella, a T-shirt, a cyclometer, or last year we had a book that was really popular that you can order. We send these out in waves. We split the area up into 10. So this was 2005. This was Northeast in 2006. We split it up into 10 areas. We mail out 2,000 to 3,000 order forms a week for 10 weeks. And basically the reason we do that is because that's all we can handle on the back end. We fill all these orders and we deliver them all by bike. And we have 3 delivery staff who love their job. We hire for them every March. And this year we had about 80 applications for these jobs. People love it. And I don't know why, but it's great. So everybody gets a bag full of what they ordered. These are our bags. We have the walking kit, which is up there. There's a SmartTrips kit. I can pass these around. All the information is in here. Walking kit, it's got a pedometer in it. It's got a walking map, a coupon book to all the local businesses. So if you walk or bike there, you can take a 5 to 20% discount, but depending on the business. So I'll pass that around, and you guys can steal whatever you want out of there. I should have started over here. So this is just a shot of the bike kits to give you an idea what's in there. It's pretty similar to the walking kit. It has everything, all the maps you need.
How expensive is such a bag?
Depends on the person. We run this program for about $8 a household. I forgot to show you the hot new incentive in there. It's a bandana with our bike map on it. Really cool. Yeah. Limited supply. So, like I said, they can also order on top of the kits that we have. They can order all the stuff a la carte. So you can order the kits, or you can order just a bike map, or you can order the number 5 bus schedule and the whatever you want, and we customize it. We don't give you anything you don't want. So all these materials you can get as well. This just gives you an idea of how we process the orders. This is the 2005 target area. I haven't done this for 2006 because it takes time, and this gives you an idea. But like I showed you before, we do it in waves of about 2,000 a week, and so this shows you over the 20 weeks that we process orders how they came in. So at the end of the project, you see we have pretty good coverage. The really dense area was right here. They have 28% of the households order material. The lowest was right over here. This is 82nd Avenue on the far right. And there's some major differences between the land uses there and the transit infrastructure and the biking infrastructure. And what we saw was a really great return rate here. But we actually saw more behavior change out there, which is interesting. Yeah?
You might be answering this later, but do you keep track of, in those areas, who asks for what? Like biking information or walking information?
Yeah, every dot, I guess, they're in a database that we have. And we have every single person and their contact information, what they ordered. What we haven't done yet is correlated that with survey data. So we can't say that this person ordered this and did this. Our survey work, and I'll go over that later, is all random. But we have a database with it's got about 12,000 names in it right now, and it has exactly what they ordered. And that's how our staffers, that's how they process the orders. We use Access. They figure out what they need to do, and they fill their orders. And yeah, go ahead.
What database did you use to identify people to begin with? Especially, how did you get to multifamily?
We bought a list. It's about $500, and they give you a list of doorknobs. So and an extra $300, you can get their names. So the multifamily is actually more of a challenge for delivery than it is for mailing. Mailing is usually okay, but for delivery, sometimes you can't get in the door, so you have to leave it there, and we've had a few problems with that for sure. Yeah.
Can you speak up a little louder, please?
Yeah. Okay, this is our northeast area. Same thing. These are all the people who ordered information. And again, this is the highest area. They ordered 24% of them ordered some type of information, and the lowest obviously is up on top. We had a few houseboats that ordered information, but there aren't many houses up there to start with. This is what people ordered. This is a combination of both 2005 and 2006, but the ratios are essentially the same. Walking is always the most popular. Biking is right there, and then transit and other are really close. Probably the most interesting thing about what people order is everybody orders a combination of modes. There's people who are not singularly focused in terms of I'm a biker, or I'm a walker, or I'm a transit rider. People want information on everything because depending on what trip you're making, you want to have information that suits that. And there are some people in this town for sure who identify themselves as cyclists, but there are a lot more of the population just wants information on everything that is out there for them. So that's kind of the delivery side of things. Like I said, TravelSmart does all that. What we do is take it to another level with our hands-on programs. We have the program called the 10-Toe Express, which if you count your toes, there's 10 of them. So this is our walking program. In addition to, in the kit, there's little logs you can fill out. So if you want to count your steps with your pedometer, you can fill out the log and mail it back. We'll give you a prize sometimes. But we also lead walks, and our guy Rich Cassidy, who works with us, he's great. He loves this. He's got a really loyal following. It's pretty funny. But he has about 20 neighborhood walks every year, and every walk has approximately 20 people on it. And they're great. They do they have dog walks where they go around and go to all the dog stores and get dog treats. They have historical walks where the Bosco Milligan Foundation, they did like a historic Belmont walk one year, and last year there was lots of stairs in Northeast Portland, like random trails and stairs in Northeast Portland, so they did like a Northeast Portland walk around that. Similarly, we have a Portland Bicycle guided rides. and these are great. And the first one is it's treats. It's called a bakery, or a sweet summer cycle. And you go to 3 different bakeries, and you get treats. It's like a pub crawl for bakeries. It's fantastic. And last year, I think we had 50 or 60 people on this ride, and people love it. It's a great way to get new riders onto the system. These aren't spandex rides. We're going slow, family style. We're just cruising down the street and showing people the system. About 2 years ago, we started a new program called Women on Bikes. And one of our staff persons, Janice McDonald, had realized that our counts, all of our bike counts that we do, showed that only about 30% of riders are female and 70% are male. So she started this program to help encourage women. She holds clinics and rides, just like the summer cycle rides. She shows them she has a bike maintenance classes. She has like women's strengths classes. They're great, and her program is getting a lot of press. It's by far our most press-friendly thing. People love it. We also have bicycle classes, which we show people how to make like bike buckets. If you've ever seen them stuck on the side of people's bikes, we help people make those. We have maintenance classes. Last year we had a biodiesel class that was really popular. We do free helmet fittings and bike tune-ups at community events. Senior Strolls is a senior-based program. It's every Wednesday morning. They have guided walks, and these have been increasingly popular. Donna Green is our staff person who does these, and she's been averaging about 20 to 30 people a year, or per walk, I'm sorry. And then our Get Lit is a free bike light program where we buy bike lights for people, and this guy goes out and he hands them all out. He just finds a street corner and finds a person who needs a light and hands it out. And his name is Jeff Bernards. He's been doing this for about 3 or 4 years now, and we just kind of fund that. And we give him money to buy lights, and he just targets it in our target area. But he does it all across the city as well. I think one of the things that changes your life, I don't know, it's kind of like having a DVR on your television. It just changes your life. It's amazing. There's this transit tracker thing, which shows you exactly when your bus is coming. And what we did is anybody who ordered transit information, we gave them a transit tracker card from TriMet. And when you call the number, you type in your stop ID, and it tells you exactly when the bus is coming. And this is amazing. People love it. We get so many comments about this. So every person who got transit also got a transit tracker card. It's been great. And TriMet has been a great partner with us in giving us all the schedules and all the cards in advance. So if you haven't tried this yet, do it. My boss has it programmed in her phone. So she just says, call bus. And then you wait like 10 seconds. It goes through all the stops. And then it just tells her exactly when the bus is coming. It's great. We do outreach to small businesses. We've got a jobs access grant through TriMet. We basically hand out bike racks to any small business that wants one. We give them information to help their employees walk or bike or take transit to work. We'll work them through all the transit incentives. There's a lot of tax incentives out there for transit passes. There's also a business energy tax credit for businesses who promote alternatives at the workplace. Last year we worked with, I think, 40 businesses in the target area. So that's kind of the whole program. Are there questions on that? Okay. So part of the reason we have support locally is we do pretty good evaluation work. And TravelSmart, the program that we're modeled after, did amazing research work. And they're an expensive outfit, but they have amazing amazing evaluation work. And we've been trying to model that, but evaluation is incredibly expensive. But we're doing as good as we can. So here's a couple of the goals that we met. One of our goals was to contact 35% of the households in the area. We've met that through not only people who ordered information, but people who participated in rides or signed up with us in one way or another. We have them in our database. We've distributed over 300,000 maps in the last 2 years and 8,500 incentives, which is in your bag there, the umbrellas or the bandana. We're not tree friendly. We're working on it. We're definitely looking at ways to make all these materials electronic, and they all are available online. But there's nothing like having the paper map in front of you, and we're looking at ways to make that a little bit more sustainable for sure. We also had at least, I think last year we had 15, maybe 18 events in the target area where we table an event. So this would be like a street fair. Last year we were in Northeast Portland. So the Alberta Art Hop or Alberta Street Fair, or last Thursday we were always there handing out bike maps. Any street fair we're there, any concert in the park, you name it, we're there. In terms of formal evaluation, we have a couple different ways. The most formal way we evaluate this program is through a pre and post random telephone survey. We hire a company. This year we use Campbell DeLong Resources. They're a local firm. And they do a random trip diary. So they call up people and they say, where'd you go? How'd you get there? Where'd you go? How'd you get there? And they go through the whole day. And we gather these trip diaries for 300 people pre and 300 people post. Last year we fell a little bit behind schedule and we had to do this survey in March. And we realized the after survey was going to have to be in September. So there's obviously a lot of seasonality differences here, especially in terms of biking. So we implemented a control group, which basically we'll go over later what that means, but same thing. They got the exact same survey, but a completely different part of town. And we're trying to control for weather variables, but also raising gas prices and other campaigns that are going on. In addition, we did a kind of informal program evaluation, and basically we sent out a little evaluation to everybody who orders stuff and said, how'd you like the bike map? Did you like the color of the bike map? Things like this. Just went through it all. And that gave us a lot of quotes, but also gave us a lot of anecdotal information to help us hone our program a little bit. We do pre and post bike counts. We did pedestrian counts one time, but they got a little squirrely. The pedestrians, you never know if somebody parked and walked. Do you count that person? So we just do bike counts now. We do videos at 4 or 5 intersections. We watch them. We count the bikes, and we get an average over a week. And then we do a post count in the fall. We also track the number of people who sign up for our carpool matching website. We use transit boardings when available. And we basically count anything we can get our hands on. Okay, so how did we do? These are the results for last year's target area in Northeast Portland. I'll walk you through it. These are our test results, and these are our control results. So earlier I said we had 2 survey groups. The top line is the test group, which is what our residents in Northeast Portland we call the test. The people we did nothing with are called our control. They're called our control. Before our program started, 61% of people were driving for all their trips, or based on our trip diary. 3.9% of trips were by bicycle. Walking was 6.7% of trips. And this is carpool here in the red. In the control and the pre is a little bit different, but the two groups are relatively similar in terms of their travel behavior in the pre. What we noticed in the post survey is that drive alone trips dropped significantly here. That's almost 15%. Bicycling went up a full 6% from 3.9 to 9.9, and walking went from 6.7 to 14% of all trips. These are pretty significant gains. Yeah.
You said that each test is done just in a single day, so they call and ask people what they did that day to travel?
Mm-hmm. Well, but there's 300 surveys in the pre. That's spread out equally over a week. So we probably did 25, 30, I can't even do the math. Was that 40 a day over the entire week? So we can say on Saturdays people were doing this, on Tuesdays people were doing this. Good question, because the travel behavior on weekends is a lot different for people. Okay, so this was essentially the change in our target area from pre to post. This was the change in our control area. And the way we measure this is we take the difference. We're just going to use drive alone because it's easy. The drive alone reduced 15% in the test area. In the control group, the drive alone reduced 7%. So the effectiveness of our program was 8% reduction in drive alone trips, just based on pure mode split. The same with bikes. In the test area, it went up 6%. In the control area, it went up 4.5%. So the difference between those is 1.5%. That was the effectiveness of our program. So pretty significant gains in mode split there. Is there questions on this? So where did all those people go? This just shows this is the post mode split here. So 46% of the people were driving alone. This is where they shifted to. And a lot of trips shifted from driving to walk. Now, another way to talk about this, and this is the industry standard, is called the relative change, which is different from a mode split real change. So bear with me here. This is a little confusing. But essentially say you have a 1% mode split for bikes, and we have 100 people that we're testing and have a 1% mode split, that means one person biked. If you do a follow-up survey and now 2 people bike, you have a 2% mode split for bikes, and you had a 200% or 100% increase in biking. So this is the relative change. We actually had a 24% relative change in driving compared to, in the control group had 11.5. The difference is almost a 13% relative reduction in drive alone trips. And this is the way TravelSmart measures their program, so we try and just throw it out there for fun. One of the more interesting things about this is we change behavior, but we don't change the way people, how they get around. This is the trip purpose, pre and post. You see work trips make up about 25% of trips. Shopping and leisure make up a good chunk, and then there's fitness. Escort is driving Johnny to soccer practice. School and other. People's behavior doesn't change a whole lot. They're having a little bit more fun with leisure. They're working a little bit less. It's more or less the same. The other thing about this is that every survey we do, and this is consistent with models, is people take 3.2 trips per day. One-way trips. Yeah. Oh, you got a button.
Do people, when they're surveyed, know that the survey is being sponsored by your program?
Yeah. Yeah. We say we're from the city of Portland. Here's what we're going through. Excuse me.
Have you thought about not telling them why you're surveying them?
Well, we don't tell them why. We tell them that we're with the city of Portland. Yeah.
So they don't know necessarily that it's part of the
No.
TravelSmart.
No. No. Let's see. So trip purpose. So a couple more interesting slides. This shows the difference between the types of trips you're making and the trip mode. These are all the work trips that people reported. And this is pre, this is post. You see we got a pretty good reduction in drive alone trips for work trips. The bicycle went up a full 10% for work trips in this area. And if you look at it for shopping trips, it's a little bit different. Walking went way up. Bicycle still went up, but not nearly as much. But this dropped significantly for shopping trips. And part of this, we think, is the coupon book. People get this coupon book and they want to walk to their local store and buy something rather than driving somewhere else. This shows the number of new registrants in a carpool match database. This is our target area, this is the control area, and this is the Portland region as a whole. So we had 50 new people register in the carpool database. That's pretty good that's in between April and December, which is basically the program year. And then we had some fluffier questions, I guess, which is, do you think you're driving alone more often, less often, or about the same than you were a year ago? Or I guess this question was 3 months ago. And so here's the key stat here, is that 27% of people thought they were driving alone less often now than they were 3 months ago when we surveyed them. Here's an awareness question, which has a typo in it. But in the past 6 months, do you remember reading or hearing about the city of Portland? Let's see. Do you remember reading, seeing, or hearing any information from the city of Portland specifically about alternative transportation in your neighborhood? This is test group and this is control group. So you see here's the no, but here's the yes. What's interesting is 40% of the people in the control group who we did nothing with remembered hearing or seeing something from us at some point when we did nothing. This could be part of the Metro Drive Less, Save More campaign. It could be they were at an event in Northeast Portland. They could be any number of factors. But that's why we do a control group. And then another soft question is, did any of the SmartTrips programs help you make these new trips by biking or walking? And this question we asked only of participants, so this is not a random question. This is just people who ordered information. And you see that 58% of the people said, yes, your program did help me make a new walking or biking trip. So that all adds up to, I mean, every decision maker uses different numbers. Some people like participation. Some people like reductions in vehicle miles traveled. Some people like what was the mode split change. Some people like how much carbon did you reduce. We can cut this any way you want. So here's our reduction based on our vehicle miles traveled reduction. This shows particulate matter saved. It's kind of dry stuff, but if you want it, it's there. The program cost $319,000 total. The actual program costs about $550,000. We get a $160,000 tax credit from the state for energy savings, and we get sponsorship from Kaiser Permanente. And last year we got sponsorship from Providence Hospital as well. Kaiser pays for the entire walking element of the program. They pay for the walking kit, the pedometers, the walking maps, and anything associated with that. They've been a great partner. There you go. Kaiser's donation is valued at $95,000, which is huge. A couple random things that we asked during the survey. This is part of the random survey we did, and this is just interesting stuff. has very little to do with the program. But when we did the random telephone survey of households in Northeast Portland and Southeast Portland, we asked a few questions to help guide our bike master plan effort, just to gauge how people were feeling about bikes. This says, in Portland, bikes provided good means of basic transportation. And this is strongly disagree, somewhat agree, strongly agree. You see in Northeast Portland, 92% of the people strongly agree or somewhat agree that bikes provide a good means of transportation in Portland. Now, I was looking up random stats this morning to compare that to, and that is actually the same. 8% of the U.S. population thinks Elvis is still alive. So, to get this kind of polling numbers out of Northeast Portland is amazing. The amount of support we have for bikes is out of control. It's obviously a little bit less in Southeast, whereas 18% disagree. This question says, biking is a good way to take care of errands close to home. Same thing, really great response rate. And then this last one I threw in was, it is unlikely that I would ever ride a bike to work. So you want the opposite answer. So when asked to respond, 40% of people strongly disagreed that it's unlikely that they would ride a bike to work. So this goes back to how you choose an area to do this in. You need to have a community that's supportive of the program to start with before you go out and do this. If you tried this somewhere where people didn't like bikes, you might get a lot of angry emails. The reality is, we didn't get any of these. This is one we got from Northwest Portland a few years ago. We offered people free stuff, and people wrote back and said, get the hell out of here. I don't want anything to do with this. What we do get is unsolicited feedback. We get love from people. It's unbelievable. It says, I've only been in my car for 15 minutes since I received the order form. I got out my bike, I pumped up the tires, I've gone for a walk a half an hour in the morning and a half hour in the evening. It's a wonderful thing the city is doing. Just getting the order form inspired me. This is such a great resource for local residents to get to know options in their area. This is a great resource, and you made it easy. Thank you. More. This one's my favorite. I just thought this was a great packet. My favorite was the coupon booklet. I felt like I was getting a treat at the end of my walk. It was almost Pavlovian. It really motivated me to walk places. So what's next is we just kicked off this program in Southeast Portland. We got a grant from Metro to expand it to Milwaukee. So we're including most of the city of Milwaukee, about 3,500 households there. We just finished the pre-survey in Milwaukee, we're going on an April to April schedule. The SmartTrips Southeast for Selwood, we're actually doing our survey on a September to September schedule. And that way we don't have to deal with the variability of weather because there's so much change with weather. The Milwaukee one we're interested in seeing, and particularly Metro is interested in seeing how it turns out because it's a little bit different beast down there. And we did receive a few complaints from the survey down there, people calling and saying, stop invading my household. We don't want anything to do with this. And I think it'll be interesting to see the results there. We're going to continue doing outreach in past areas. This is something we heard a lot. We did focus groups at the end of the last project, and people came in and repeatedly told us that you just spent X thousand dollars here. You got all summer, you got us all primed, and then you leave and you go somewhere else. This doesn't make any sense. And for us, we're like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But we don't have any money. So we're looking at ways of continuing the outreach in past areas and continuing with just building on the efforts that we have there. So we're excited to see where that goes. And we also just kicked off a new program for downtown employers. This is part of the light rail construction. And it's just called SmartTrips Downtown. And it's basically the same thing, but it's based out of your employer rather than out of your home. So these are the people who work on it. These are our delivery people who love their jobs. And that's it.
And remember to use the microphone.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there's many other cities across the nation doing TravelSmart, or if you've had cities interested in copying your
Yeah.
SmartTrips program.
Both.
Or is Portland real unique?
TravelSmart is not. It wasn't a new concept. A lot of people had liked it. We were the first city to do it in America. Since that time, there has been TravelSmart projects in Seattle, Sacramento, Raleigh, North Carolina, Cleveland, I think, and they actually just wrapped up 3 in Oregon, which is Salem, Corvallis, and Eugene. Wait, Salem, Eugene, and Bend. Corvallis was not part of it. And they did smaller scale ones, 600 households, pretty small. But they have been done. And then in addition to that, we have given presentations. My boss just got back from Boston. They're really interested in it. A lot of different cities have come looking at us because what we offer is really similar to TravelSmart, but it's half the cost and twice as effective. It's great, and we think it's a model for sure that can be shopped around. Yeah.
We have one question over the web asking about sort of the source of funding.
Okay.
You've described Kaiser and the partners, but where else have you gotten that funding?
Primarily, the money comes from gas tax revenue. It's part of our general revenue. The city's made a decision that this is something they support, and they pay for a good chunk of it. What makes this program possible is the tax credit we get from the Oregon Department of Energy, which basically we get 25% of all the money we put into it back every year. This is a huge, huge boon for us. And then the contributions from Kaiser and volunteers make up the difference. But primarily, it's a gas tax revenue.
Well, actually, I kind of just have a problem using a bicycle here. Actually, I use public transit every day to come here, but the problem is that I live on a mountain, so it's very hard to get to in a bicycle, and it's very exhausting. So, did you include something like that in your research? I mean, people might, they are discouraged to use bicycles sometimes when they live in places where it's very exhausting to use a bicycle. And also, what about the weather? When it rains here a lot, and so it's it's difficult. Walking and bicycling is difficult sometimes.
Two things there. One, our program it's going to be in Southwest Portland next year, and we have some concerns about that. Southwest Portland is not the same as Inner East Side Portland in terms of transit or biking or anything. It's a whole different beast. So we're looking at ways to tailor our program more towards that. We haven't figured it out yet, but the maps help, and there are good routes in the hilly areas. But for some people, biking doesn't work for them, and that's okay. We're okay with that. But in terms of the weather question, we just got some survey results back yesterday. The commissioner had hired this group to do a survey. We did 400 residents in the city, 200 bike-friendly people, and 200 non-bike-friendly people. And to me, it's interesting that we continue to do survey work like this, because I've done research of all the surveys we've done with the city. And going back 14 straight surveys now, the two barriers are weather. It's always 40% of the people say weather is the barrier, and 35% of the people say safety is the barrier. So weather is a huge barrier. Part of it's education. Part of it's showing people how to deal with rain. Weather, to me, is a barrier. If it's really raining, I don't ride. But I have enough rain gear. My mom finally got me some things to cover my shoes this year. So now I ride, probably all but 10 days a year. So part of weather is education, again, making sure people have the right gear and their bike is outfitted in a way that works for them. But for other people, it's just a real barrier, and we recognize that it's a significant barrier. But one of the things that's interesting about the TravelSmart model, and they did some amazing research in North Portland, really in depth, and they would go to people like you and say, okay, this trip here, you went to the store, and you drove there. Why did you do that? And they would dig down, and they would break people into two groups, people who didn't take a bike trip for subjective reasons and people who didn't take it for objective reasons. And so objective reasons are things like you had another person with you, you don't own a bike, it was too far based on an equation we had. Subjective reasons are things like you thought it was too far, but it wasn't. There's only like a mile. You thought there was no bike route, but there is a bike route there. So just kind of reasons that aren't real reasons. When you dig down even further, there was about 10% of the population that for all their trips, they never had a reason for not riding a bike. They just didn't. It just hadn't occurred to them. There was no subjective or objective reason where you could look at this trip and say, well, okay, that makes sense. You didn't ride a bike. There's a significant amount of the population who could be riding that's not. And that to us is the low-hanging fruit, because we don't have to do anything. We just have to encourage them. Yeah, we'll go back and then you.
Is there any movement to provide some more of this information or education for people with disabilities or target that type of population?
Well, we do have one of our staff persons, Donna Green. She focuses on elderly and disabled, both sides of it. We do work with TriMet. One of the things we offer on the order form is the Honor Citizens packet. It has all the TriMet services on there that they use. But I would think that and reaching out to these different populations has been a problem for us, and particularly the Hispanic population. We have no materials in Spanish, and over again, people are like, "You got to do this." And so, yeah, we're definitely looking at how to reach the populations who can't just check the box and get what we have out of the can right now. Yeah.
By way of the new downtown situation where you guys are going to be focusing on employers, have you thought about things? I used to live in outer southeast, and when I wasn't working and I was just biking to school, it really wasn't an issue. But in the summertime, I know, like, my brother won't bike in because he gets too sweaty. So I'm wondering if you guys have thought about trying to do, like, things with, valleys or something like that where they can just come in to use, the shower or something like that, because I know that that's kind of a, maybe not a huge obstacle, but something that people that would normally be willing to do, but they can't afford to smell or be sweaty.
Right. Well, we used to have a program like that called Bike Central, and there was a bike station downtown. It was on Yamhill and First, and you could pay a monthly membership, and you can go in and shower. And you can still do this at Multnomah Athletic Club. Is that right? Yeah. On Lloyd and, Broadway and 7th. It's in Northeast, though. But this is a model that we have pursued, and you could pay a monthly membership to a gym, but you get a discounted rate because all you're doing is showering, basically. It just didn't catch on. Not enough people were using it. We are pursuing several bike stations right now for new buildings. So when a new building goes in, have you seen these in Seattle maybe, where you can go there and you can pay to park your bike somewhere secure? They can have lockers and showers built in them. We're looking into that right now. Our building has showers and lockers. I think it helps. I think people ask for these things, but there's also a major difference between stated preference and what people actually will do. And it's been my experience that people want showers and lockers, but they don't really use them. In the same way that if you ask somebody, if I put a bike lane on your street or I put a bus on your street, will you ride it? And they say yes. But the reality is they don't do it. There's a huge gap between what people say, what's going to get them over that hump, and what they actually do. And showers are good. I mean, some people love them, some people don't. So, yeah.
Just a comment. If you wanted to have a process for awarding that bag to someone, you might ask who in this room has lived in Portland for the least amount of time. Because we have someone who's been here for about 100 hours.
Perfect.
Perfect. Just came from China, so she may appreciate some of that.
Go for it. I don't know what's in there. I just stuffed stuff in there, but one of our things is 100 hours. We do have a new resident program as part of this. So last year, anytime a new person moved in, What's that?
In China, there's still some departments do this kind of survey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Great. We're not alone. This is good.
It's hard to take when you do the survey. A large bag.
Oh, large bag.
Yeah.
I can see that. We used to have, last year we had books. One of the prizes was like a book, and it was like 7 pounds. There was enormous books. And our poor bike delivery people, they just hated it. But along that lines, we had a new resident program last year. Anytime somebody moved into the area, we saw that as an opportunity to engage them. So, yeah.
Another web question, and the question being, how much of the shift is people getting out of the car and into other modes, and how much of it is maybe just new trips for walking and cycling? So did the number of trips that people make change in the pre and the post?
No. Well, two-part answer. One, we looked at the trip purpose. That's not a significant shift in trip purpose. People are basically doing more or less what they were doing before. What I talked about here, and this is the change in behavior, is that the pre and the post this year and the pre and post last year and every other survey we've done, it's 3.2 one-way trips per person per day. So
So there was no increase in the number of trips?
No, same number of trips. They're still doing the same things. They're just using a different mode. Again, back to the TravelSmart model, they did a lot more in-depth research. And what they found was a significant increase in the number of trips within that neighborhood that we did the area. So before, they had trips made entirely within the target area and trips made outside. And what we saw was the trips outside went down and the trips inside went up. So people are still traveling. They're just doing it more locally. And part of that has to do with, what kind of businesses are around and are there interesting things to walk to. Yeah.
I think it's great that you're addressing safety perceptions in regards to bicycling. I'm wondering what, if anything, you do to address safety perceptions in regard to transit.
Mm-hmm. For sure, that's a barrier, and people perceive transit to be relatively relatively dangerous, but it's not as huge of a barrier as bicycling. In so much as that one's an infrastructure improvement, and one, are you talking about safety on the bus or safety at the bus stop or both? I guess there's several ways to go about it, and Peter's probably a great one to talk about. He's one of our traffic engineers in terms of creating safe environments on streets for waiting for bus stops, including curb extensions. And I don't know, do you have anything you want to pop in with there? Or? No? Not so much. Well, there are areas like along Barber Boulevard. There's bus stops on both sides of the streets, and it's difficult to get across the street. So you get off the bus on one side and you live on the other side of Barber. It's almost impossible to cross there during rush hour. So we're definitely looking at ways of enhancing the crossings there and enhancing the stops. In terms of safety on the bus, that to me is we work with TriMet and we pass along comments and complaints, but that's kind of their bailiwick. But for sure that's a barrier.
Yes, I mean, you've presented that thing going directly to the households, but I've heard of a friend, he's working for a company, that the company actually also encourages SmartTrips. And I'm just wondering why. Do you have any programs? Because, I mean, they might do a great job for community, but it won't pay out for them. So do you actually encourage companies to encourage people doing something?
Part of our downtown project that we just launched is there's the outreach side, but there's a policy side to it, which is engaging the employers and trying to get them to adopt programs for their employees. And there are tax incentives from the state and federal tax incentives that encourage people to buy bus passes with pre-tax money or install bike parking. Any of these things work. With the city of Portland, we get paid $30 a month to ride my bike. This is a great incentive. $30 a month to walk. I can use $30 to buy a transit pass. The only way I don't get money is if I drive. But this is all, it varies by employer. But we work with employers, and TriMet also works with employers to get these programs in place. Yeah. It'd be great if we could make everybody do that.
Any additional questions?
Great. Thank you.
Before we thank our speaker, I want to put in a little plug for next week's seminar. We have Professor Chris Monsieur here from Civil Engineering, going to be talking about combining climate, crash, and highway data for improved ranking of speed and winter-related crash locations in Oregon. So that is next week's talk. And thank you again, Dan, very much.
Sure.
No, but I haven't looked. So I haven't checked online. Okay, so why don't you write yourself a thing? Were you here last week?